Across the valley to Signal Knob, a Civil War communication post to the right of Massanutten Mountain. The mountain divides the valley and the Shenandoah River, with the South Fork on this side and the North Fork on the far side. The two forks meet north of Front Royal. Very beautiful here. I am here in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, and I'm taking a picture at the present time of Sharon taking a picture. That's what she's doing, bending down. I don't know, you might think she's going to sleep, but that's not what she's doing. Now I'm going to leave her and I'm going to take a beautiful section slow, and I'm going to go by real slow. I'm not going to speak, I'm just going to let the view speak for itself. The leaves are turning now, and they're probably halfway turned, maybe a little over. Pretty soon they'll all start falling pretty regularly, but so far. Isn't that beautiful? Now you know why the one who composed that song, the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, what he was thinking about. And now I got in the view Sharon again. I'm going to take another picture with another camera.
Put my car in the mountain.
And here is the individual that we visited. Margaret, my sister. They're
Bugs.
She's talking, there's bugs.
You're bugging us, is what
Bugs are always
Bugging
here.
us. Bug
Wait.
off.
Bug off!
Bug off.
There they are. There's my sister. She's the one we're staying with. There she is. She walks behind her car. This is her car. It's a Chrysler. It's a Chrysler. No, it isn't. It's a Plymouth. She didn't say nothing. I don't even know if she knows what kind of car it is. She just waved to the flag. There she comes. She hides a little bit. There, they're both facing. Say,
it's a Chevy. It's a Tin Lizzie.
A Tin Lizzie, she says. Hey, I'm going to cut off now, so wave a little, wave a little. Bye. Come closer to me for a little bit.
Just turn the camera off.
Okay, she says, turn the camera off. That's a producer talking. Bye-bye. See you later. This is October 10th, 1990. October 10th, 1990. In the Blue Ridge Mountain of Virginia. In the Blue Ridge. Sharon driving Margaret's car.
Give him the camera. That's the end. It's just
And over here we have the head of Margaret. She gave you the signal for what? I don't know. What was that? Doggy? Oh, I see. Okay. We show Sharon driving for about another 10 seconds and then I'll shut this part of it off. We're going through Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. She's driving around these roads. There she goes again. Here she comes out of the car now. I don't think I got all of the parking.
Fifth child, and they didn't have the room in the place that they're living in. She was familiar with the bedroom layout of this place, and she made arrangements to rent the place at the time. Now, I'm a little ahead of my story. The popes lived here till 1799, just 4 years. And then they sold the premises to Mr. Fitzhugh, who was a wealthy tobacco grower, 1832. And the third one is of Robert as an officer in the Mexican War. Now, there were so many of the officers that served in the Mexican War that also served together and against each other in the Civil War. In fact, we have a letter on record of a Captain Robert E. Lee sending a letter of commendation to a lieutenant in his command and for exemplary service, and the lieutenant is Ulysses S. Grant. At the surrender ceremonies at Appomattox, Lee did not remember Grant, but Grant sure remembered Lee. The third portrait is of Lee in 1848 as superintendent of West Point. And the last portrait up on top is of Lee as the commanding officer of the Confederate forces of Northern Virginia. Actually, he did not command all of the Confederate forces until the last 3 weeks of the war. Northern kitchen. Mr. Pope, being from Pennsylvania, built a northern feature. If you've been to Mount Vernon, you notice that the kitchen there is a southern type. It's separated from the house far away and has a covered causeway going to it. But this is the Pennsylvania type, and it's northern, and it's attached to the house. The interest is the fireplace itself. I catch that fireplace, that blue oven on the side, I'll tell you about it. Move this to the desired height to prepare your food. The first thing that the help would do when they came out in the morning was build a fire in here. And then they have what they call a toe toaster. And this, you put 2 slices of bread in here and just turn the thing around with your toes. And then you had a grill. You put it either over the fire or under the fire. And how do you want your steaks? Medium, rare, well done. Now, this is a modern oven. In those days, they used to have ovens made with bricks all the way around. And you'd have your fire in here, then you put your bread dough up in here for preparing food. The help in those days was illiterate. Couldn't read or write. And there was a mistress of the house who would explain to the cook and so forth how food was to be prepared and what she was to do with it. And one of the things they did is to determine what the heat was in here. They either sang a song or they would count. If they could put their hand in here and count to 10, they had a good fire. They count to 20, all right. Count to 30, put more coals. Now, as I said, this was a modern drum, and this entire jacket is removable. It comes right out like a jig. It's heavy as all get out. Everywhere.
Today, if you had 1/20 of that, you'd have a hue and cry that would raise the roof. In Cold Harbor, Virginia, 7,000 men were killed in Hungary.
It's hard to believe, but it says it. To me, I couldn't believe it.
Antietam, which is called Sharpsburg by the south. 25,000 men were killed in one day.
That's a massacre. It would be a massacre.
That's right. They couldn't put up with that. They wouldn't stand for it. And as they brought the wounded from the Second Battle of Manassas on the rail cars, they stopped at St. Mary's, and they had converted the church into a operating room. And you still have mounds with markers of arms and legs. And what they did for operation, they gave you 2 slugs of whiskey and a stick to put in your mouth. Start acting away.
That was more or less stressed in that Civil War.
The Confederates came down to Chantilly, which is about 4 or 5 miles from Fairfax Station. And scouts, Confederate scouts, went on patrol at night. And they came across the hospital at St. Mary's at Fairfax Station. And the Confederate troops went through and saw that both Confederate and Union troops were being treated equally and didn't bother them at all. There was honor among troops in those days.
That's right. They even helped each other.
And St. Mary's is still an active church, and they have a plaque on the front door. On Labor Day, we have a big affair out there, and this is the place where Clara Barton described her ministry to troops in the field. And I take that plaque off every Labor Day, and they call it the blessing of the tools. Ever hear that? People bring in whatever they used for livelihood: pens, typewriters,
Like animals.
animals, fire trucks, ambulances, and they just circle around, and they have a mass, a Catholic mass, and the bishop is there, and he blesses the tools for the benefit. And the last thing that's blessed is this plaque that I bring up. I give bless the holy water. I go back to the building, screw it back on the wall. Wait, swing around. Throw the weight. But he always had a person on his right.
His son.
Usually his son, and a cane. He was a military agent once in a while. Now, on one occasion, he was addressing Congress, and my boss said to me, "Get over there and shut up," because I talk too much. And I got over there and put his hand on there. I said was, "Good morning, Mr. President." Good morning. And we walked up the aisle, out of the aisle.
So you've seen Roosevelt.
Oh yeah, I have an autograph photograph.
Yeah. That was our dad's idol, you know, because
I knew my wife up until maybe 20 years ago never thought he couldn't walk, because them days there was no television, so you had to go by press.
Honor among photographers. They never took a picture of him below the waist.
That's what I told my wife.
One
and daughter.
picture was taken, and that's when he was being sworn in as governor of New York, and he was standing in front of the church that morning's services before he go take the oath of office, and the full-length portrait of him, and you can see the braces coming out underneath his shoes. That is the only known photograph of Roosevelt full-length. And he used to hold press conferences. He was sitting behind his desk. And the pressmen would stand around. They never once mentioned or said anything about his physical condition.
It was controlled. You couldn't control it nowadays with television. It's impossible. I mean, them days it was photographs, and they can control that.
Well, no, it wasn't.
And the
It was
sound.
just it was honor among the
Okay, honor among
among the
newsmen.
pressmen. Yeah. They lived either in back or back and up, and they closed sundown. And the merchant, people would knock on the front door, and the merchant wanted to know if it was a friend or a customer. And on the second floor, they'd have a mirror on a brace, some bright. You still see them out there on Prince Street in Alexandria. And they came out, and then the mirror had two mirrors like so attached to that. The middle, these come up the middle, and the two mirrors. And what the merchant would do is look in the mirror to see who was downstairs, whether he would answer the door or not. And at the same time, being there on an angle, he could look up the street either way. And you could tell who was visiting who and gossip about it.
Good.
In the 100 block of Captain's Row, still has 3 or 4 of those things on the houses.
Ben.
We've been all over. We haven't seen the Potomac yet.
But I mean, for you all to go, we haven't had time to go on this.
We've been busy every day.
You had to make some choice about tomorrow and Saturday, see? You're here longer.
Gettysburg. And a lamb.
This thing goes out in the water, the chair. But maybe,
It's a riverboat. Yeah. That's what Ben was telling. Oh, this is a restaurant here.
Oh, just
takes care of that.
we're now looking across the Potomac. This is the river that George Washington threw a coin across.
And sat right here and drew it. And the Woodrow Wilson Bridge is in the background. I'll show you when we get home. It's one of those two hanging up in the bedroom.
It's the one on the left-hand side.
Yeah, the other one is our house that she did for him.
Okay, I didn't know what the bridge was that you
It's
were
the
looking
Woodrow
at.
Wilson Bridge. And she must have been sitting right here, and the Nova Scotia paper boat was here, and she sits here. She was an artist. And she'd come over to Alexandria and draw the pictures on the pier, and this must have been it.
Right from here.
Yeah.
I think she was sitting right about here.
Yeah. Because there's a, big ones, the little ones.
Let's see if this got paddle.
In the distance, you can see the Capitol. If you didn't hear me before, in the distance, you can see the Capitol. This is a street scene in Old Town, Alexandria.
Here we are in Margaret's house with Margaret's exercise bike. But Margaret's not on there. Sharon is doing
of a
it.
mile.
Look at those little legs spin.
Not so little after all the spaghetti I had today.
There they go. Panting already.
18.5, 1 mile.
18.1 mile? I don't believe it, but I think that speedometer is going too fast.
It reads okay to me. Margaret's putting
And over
everything
here we
away.
find Margaret fixing her house up to look. She's got things laying all over here. Papers, magazines, beer bottles. There's a beer can there. Let's see what she's doing there.
The biggest clutter is over there in that chair.
Look at her. She moved some of this stuff, but there's something left around it. She's trying her best to hurry and fix up the place. Look at her picking papers off the...
Bye.
Bye. Okay, now we're back to pedaling. There she is, pedaling away. This is Margaret's exercise bike.
18.5 miles.
18.5 miles.
18.6 miles.
You don't have going a block and 2 pedals of the wheel. That only proves Margaret pedaled about 10 feet on that.
I like the way this is calibrated. Feels like I'm doing something.
Where did she go? Margaret? Where did she go?
She's sitting
Are you dead?
outside.
Here she comes back in her own house. Maybe. Maybe she left for a while. Okay, I got it off. Okay, I'll go now. Margaret will come into her own house, and Sharon's pedaling away, getting awful tired. Off she goes. Good night, all. Here's the exercise class now. In Margaret's home.